As we discussed in the introduction, Boardwalk Velocity offers two categories of integration options, client-side and server-side. In this session, we will be exploring client-side or ExcelMerge, which is typically used for smaller data sets. With ExcelMerge, data from an external spreadsheet can be brought into the Boardwalk workbook and merged with the data that the user is working on. This is particularly useful for a small data set of up to 1,000 records. For large data volumes, the server-side or supermerge path is recommended. To be able to merge data from the workbook, we will need to configure the ExcelMerge sheet from the Velocity design framework. We start from our target cuboid, which in our case is the transaction sheet. We start the configuration by clicking on ExcelMerge menu. Let's examine this menu. The Merge menu is divided into three parts: the configuration, utilities, and workflow. Let's examine the items available in the configuration section. Add ExcelMerge sheet just adds a blank ExcelMerge sheet to the workbook. We typically don't use this option. Add new merge rule not only adds a merge rule, but also adds a blank ExcelMerge sheet. We will be using this option for our configuration. Merge Rules menu allows us to edit, copy, or delete the merge rules that have been set up. The Merge Format menu allows us to generate a format for the merge sheet, and also allows us to navigate to the merge sheet format that was generated earlier and stored within the workbook. This is very much like the format for the cuboids. In the Utilities section, we have the following. Merge Utility allows us to either add a row or delete a row within the merge sheet range. Merge Sort is used to sort the merge data range. The Merge Workflow menu has the following items. Select Range selects the highlighted rows and columns to operate on. Resize Range assigns the selected rows and columns to a named range. Apply Format works like the test format under the format data, but only on the merge sheet. Validate Range will run any business rules that were set up for the merge sheet. Run Rule will run the merge rule that one selects. Clear Area will clear the merge range of any data. Now that we understand the functionality of each of the menu items for ExcelMerge, let's start by configuring a merge sheet for our transaction workbook. Transactions sheet is our active sheet. Now, we select ExcelMerge menu and click on Add New Merge Rule. A new merge rule is created and a pop-up window indicates the same. Click on OK to continue. Next, a new merge sheet is created. Click on OK on the pop-up message, and a merge rule setting form for us to configure the merge rule appears. Notice the merge sheet has only one column name. As we configure the rule, we will replace this column with columns that we need to merge data for. Let us now understand the merge rule form. The merge rule is divided into 5 parts. The first is information about the rule, that is rule ID, rule name, rule type, active flag, source range name, target name. Save button saves the rule. Cancel will close the form, discarding any unsaved changes. We clicked on the active flag to ensure the rule is active. The second part of the form is the source definition area. Here we define the columns to be used for merging, that is, for users to provide the data to be merged. The third part for the form is the target definition area. Here we define where the data will be merged to. The fourth part is where we choose our options for the rule. The fifth part is where we configure the colors for updated cells and new rows for the target. The yellow area provides help text for the area being configured. For example, since we clicked on the is_active radio button, the help text for that is being displayed. Also, when we mouse over different areas, contextual help is being provided there. Let us now configure the merge rule. To start with, we need some columns for the source. We can select these from the target cuboid columns list. For our purpose, we will select TXN date, TXN ID, TXN indicator, TXN type, TXN amount, and TXN currency, followed by clicking on the Add to Source link. This adds the columns to the source section, and notice they are added to our merge sheet too. We also see that the column name still exists in our source, and we need to remove this. To do so, click on the Select Mode link, then select the column name and click on the Remove link. This removes the said column from our merge sheet too. Next, we need to define the keys so that we can match data from the source with that of the target. The key is a single column or a set of columns that will uniquely define a row of data. In our case, we could say TXN date will be the key. However, we could have multiple rows for a particular date. Hence, we need to include another column, and that is the TXN ID. So, our key is a combination of two columns. To indicate that these columns are the keys, we click on the set link above the source key name box, and the names are populated there. Since all the fields need to be transferred, we can select all the fields individually, or we click on the checkbox next to the name range columns. This is a faster way to select all the fields. After selecting the fields, click on the set link over the source data CG name. This will populate the text box with the field names. The clear link will clear any values in the box. Next, we need to define the keys for the target cuboids, and we select these fields and click on the set link above the target key name box. Next, we need to define the target columns. In this case, we will select each of the field names that we want, and then click on the set link over the target data CG name. The field names are transferred to the box. We will not be using the source filter name on either source or target. Now that we have our source and target keys and columns defined, let's focus on the options. When the rule is run, if the keys match, we want the values from the source to update the target. Once the update happens, we would like a comment to be added to the updated cell. If the keys do not match, we would like to insert new rows in our target cuboid. The row is always added at the top. We want values to be copied and any formulae. We can ignore blank source values. We could ignore the case of the data. Next is to choose the colors that we want for updated cells and new rows. Clicking on the link will bring up a color picker, where using the slider we can configure the R, G, and B values for the color. Clicking on the pick will assign the values. Now, let's repeat the steps for new row color assignment. Our basic rule for merge has been configured. Let's save the rule settings and close the form. Looking at the ExcelMerge sheet, it looks very plain, that is, it has no formatting. We will copy the format from the transactions cuboid. Let's first move the merge sheet closer to the transactions cuboid. Now we can easily navigate between the transactions cuboid and the merge sheet. Let's copy the header format from the transactions cuboid and paste it onto the merge sheet. A good practice is to copy the width of the target data too. With that done, we will now copy the data from the first data row of the transaction sheet and paste it in the merge sheet. Getting the sample data from the transactions sheet helps us to visualize the format of the data better. Let's quickly check the formatting to ensure that cells are not locked. We are ready to generate the format for the merged sheet data. We select the first two rows, the header and the data. Click on ExcelMerge menu and select Merge Format, followed by Generate Merge Format for merge rule number 2. Message indicating the format has been created successfully. Notice that there is a name for the merge format. Click on OK to continue. We copied one row from the transactions data cuboid. Let's copy-paste that data into a few more rows. Let's change the TXN date on the copied data rows so that the combination of the TXN date and TXN ID is unique. For the first row, let's keep the same date and TXN ID, but change the TXN amount. We will now follow the workflow of ExcelMerge. The first action is to select the range of data. Click on ExcelMerge, then click on Merge Workflow, then click on Select Range followed by the rule name, which is Merge Rule 2. This selects the entire merge range. A verification message pops up. Click on OK to continue. Next, navigate back to the Merge Workflow menu, and this time, select Resize Range followed by Merge Rule 2. This sets the merge data range to the selected range. A pop-up message requests confirmation. Click Yes to continue. Click on OK on the next informational message. You will notice in the name box of the workbook, the highlighted section has a name range. This is the merge range name. The next step is to apply the format from the ExcelMerge Merge Workflow menu. When we set the data range for the rows to be merged, the format is also applied by default. However, if for any reason one wants to apply the format, the option is available to us. Next option available to us in the merge workflow is to perform validations. If we had set up validations, we could perform these now. Since we did not set up any validations, we will skip this step for the time being. We are ready to run the merge rule. To do that, we will click on the Run Rule option and select the rule name, i.e. Merge Rule 2. At this point, the data keys in the merge sheet are compared to the data keys in the transactions cuboid, and if there is new data, the data present in the new rows of the merge sheet is added to the top of the cuboid, and the rows are marked with a comment in column indicating a new row. The color of the new row is the color we specified in our merge rule settings. If there is existing data, it is updated in place, with a comment showing the change, and the cell gets the color that we specified in our merge rule settings. A pop-up window shows up and contains the address of the cells that were updated. Clicking on the radio button against the address will display the cell. Once we are satisfied with viewing the changes, we can close the form by clicking on the Close button. Please note, the merged values are still in the workbook. They will only be sent to the database till we submit the worksheet. Notice the format of the newly inserted rows. The TXN date is numeric format, and so is the TXN amount. Ideally, we would want these formatted in the same way as the rest of the values in these columns. We can accomplish this by configuring the necessary options for the merge rule. Let's edit the merge rule, and in the form scroll down in the target section to Cuboid Formats. Select the format we want from the drop-down, in this case the first one, click on it, and then click on the Set link on top of Insert Row Format box. Save and close the form. Since we did not submit the data, we can use our test data again. For that, we can re-download the transactions cuboid by selecting Download Sheet from the Boardwalk menu tab. Now that the transaction data has been downloaded, let's run our merge rule again. We simply run the rule, since our range for the merge sheet data has not changed. After running the merge rule, we see new data has been added, and the format is as per the format of the rest of the sheet. We see the transaction date is formatted as date and the transaction amount is formatted with $sign and 2 decimal places. When we set up the merge rule, we only use 6 of the columns from the transactions cuboid. We could have configured the rules to include all the columns. Or perhaps another merge rule could be set up to add data for those columns. Or perhaps those are to be set up as default values. So, let's try to add default values for the remitted name and beneficiary name columns. To do so, we will edit the merge rule by clicking on ExcelMerge, clicking on Merge Rule, then on Edit Merge Rules, and selecting Merge Rule 2. The Merge Rule Settings form will appear. In the Target section of the form, select the remitted name and beneficiary name columns, then click on the Set link on New Row Default Columns text box. The values that we want these columns to get will need to be entered in the New Row Default Column Value text box. Click on the Set link above the box, and in the form enter the default values, in the sequence listed in the Default Columns box, separated by the pipe symbol. Once done, click on the OK button. Now, whenever we add new rows, the default values for the remitter name and beneficiary name columns will be filled. We can now save the settings and cancel to close the form. We no longer need the data merged into our transactions sheet, so let's reset the sheet. To do this, simply select Re-download Sheet from the Boardwalk menu in the right-click Cell menu. Now, let's go back to our merge sheet. Since we have not added any new data rows, our merge range is already correctly set, so we can simply rerun the merge rule. Once the merge rule has finished running, you will notice the default value showing up only in the new rows that were added. Let's build some validation rules now. In earlier sessions, we learned about the business rules that can be configured in Boardwalk Velocity. All these rules are also available to be configured for the data being merged. We can do so by editing our merge rule. The merge rule settings form opens. In the source section of the form, scroll down towards the bottom of the form, and there is a section that will allow us to select the rule that we want to configure. Let's say we want to ensure that the TXN amount is numeric in nature. That is, we want to select the numeric check. Click on the Add Rule link above the validation rule types. A pop-up message indicates that the rule has been added successfully. Click on the OK button to continue, and a validation rule configuration form pops up. This form is the same as the one that we used earlier to define our business rules. In the Validate section, you will notice most of the information is already filled in. We will select the column that we wish to set up the validations for from the Validate Columns list box. Click on the box against TXN amount and click on the Set Validate Columns button. You can add multiple columns for the numeric validations too. Once the Set Validate Columns button is pressed, the selected columns are populated in the Validate Columns text box. We can also specify the rule this validation is to be run. We can change the color to notify of errors and add an error message, as we did in the earlier sessions. Click on Save to save this rule, and then on Cancel to close the form. We are brought back to the Merge Rules form, where we see the newly created rule in the validation rules defined. We can add additional rules to the merge settings as needed in the same way. For now, let's save the rule and close the form. We should now test our validation rule that we configured. Let's change some value in the TXN amount, where we replace the zeros by O's. Since our merge range is already set, we don't need to repeat those steps and can jump directly to validating the data in our merge sheet by selecting Validate Range from the ExcelMerge workflow. If there are any errors, the Invalid Data Cells form is displayed, which lists all the cells that have errors. Click on the radio button next to the cell, and we are taken to the cell. This is extremely helpful if we have a larger sheet of data and would like to navigate to the cell with errors. We can close the form now. Running the validation first is always helpful to eliminate the errors before we merge the data. However, if one skips the validation step, knowingly or unknowingly, running the merge rule will run the validation step automatically for us. If there are no errors, the merge proceeds and merges the data. If there are errors, the Invalid Data Cells form is displayed and the merge is aborted. Applying the format so that the error color is removed and then running the merge rule demonstrates this feature. The error we see is simple to fix. We can just change the O's back to zeros. However, there may be some instances that we may have to do some additional research to fix the error. Perhaps the data coming from our ERP system that we were pasting in our merge sheet has some issues and we need to go back and check. In the meantime, we would like to upload the valid data that we have. We can leverage the sorting feature to sort the good records to be on top. This can be accomplished because the erroneous records are color-coded. Select Merge Sort option from the ExcelMerge menu. The sort form of Excel is displayed. We need to select the field to sort by, and that will be TXN amount. We then select cell color to sort on, followed by selecting the color to sort, and then indicate that this color should be on the bottom. Click on the OK button to run the sorting. This form, invoked from the ExcelMerge menu, uses the ExcelMerge data range as a parameter to sort on. The data range is sorted as per parameters, and the error row is now at the bottom. Next, let's just select the rows without the error. This should be easy since they are now all contiguous, and then select Resize Range for Merge Rule 2 from the ExcelMerge's workflow menu. We have now changed our merge range to exclude the error range. We can now merge this data range to our transactions data sheet. The merge rule runs successfully, but no cells are updated. This is because we had already merged our data earlier. This is important to note that running the merge rule with the same data does not add the new rows. Data will only be changed if the target sheet had different values from the source sheet. The merge rules that we just configured are stored in a configuration sheet. We can navigate to the merge sheet by navigating from the Range Settings menu and selecting Merge Rules setting. One will be taken to the configuration sheet, where we can see all the different parameters that we have configured for our merge rules. These can be edited too, although care needs to be taken to ensure we are using the correct spellings and case for the values we edit. Let's navigate back to our transactions sheet. ExcelMerge is a client-side integration option in Boardwalk Velocity designed for merging smaller datasets, up to 1,000 records, from external spreadsheets into a Boardwalk workbook. Unlike server-side integrations meant for larger volumes, ExcelMerge enables users to incorporate and update data efficiently within the workbook. The functionality is accessed via an ExcelMerge menu, which is organized into 3 sections. Configuration allows users to add new merge rules, which automatically create a corresponding merge sheet, edit existing rules, and generate merge sheet formats. The merge rule configuration form is divided into sections for rule information, source definition, target definition, options, such as whether to update existing rows or add new ones, and color settings for visual cues. Utilities provides tools to add or delete rows in the merge sheet and to sort the data based on criteria like cell colors. Workflow facilitates selecting and resizing data ranges, applying formatting, validating the data against preset business rules, and executing the merge process. Validation helps catch errors, for example, non-numeric values in numeric fields, before merging, while sorting can reposition erroneous rows for easier correction. Additionally, users can configure default values for columns not directly merged from the source and adjust formats to match the target cuboid. Users can modify merge rules using the same form. Furthermore, all merge rules are saved in a configuration sheet for easy access and future updates.